looking quite carefully for tracks of a female leopard called Karula. It was the mother of the leopard we saw earlier this morning, and well, it is the mother of the leopard we saw earlier this morning, and she was kind of heading in this general direction last night. Brent spent some time with her towards the end of the evening drive, so it is just worth keeping tabs on where she is, even if we don't actively look for her. But if we just see her tracks, then we've got an idea that she's in this area, and that we can come back and look for her later or this afternoon. Okay, well, that was useful. It appears she's continued north along this road a little bit and then cuts in an easterly direction. So we know later the general area to go and search for her if we are interested in that. And the reason why I wanted to have a quick look is to make the most of the fresher tracks from last night, before the wind and other animals pass over this area and vehicles and therefore lose the tracks. I'm guessing we're about 15 minutes or so away from Arathusa airstrip, so get your bird books out, because there's going to be a trickier bird than normal that I'm going to ask you to try and identify. Just got a bit more info on Harlequin Dreams. Thanks for sending some more info through on the sand flies, or also apparently known as sand fleas. And they're also found in North America and Canada in the summer. I'd be interested to know whether they cause much of a nuisance to us as humans, and what exactly that nuisance is. Do they bite you, and is it a small rash, and what is the wound like that you receive from a bite from the sandfly? Okay, so this is Treehouse Dam. Could you just go again with where it's from, please? I've just got a question through from Dara in Ohio. Morning, Dara. And Dara's interested to know whether the airstrip we're heading to is where there's a warthog with an abnormally large offspring of 7 piglets. And it is indeed, and hopefully they'll be running around when we get there. These old buffalo bulls are just relaxing here at the waterhole. And just like we saw the other bull heading towards Gari Dam a little bit earlier, it is common to find them here at the waterholes at this time of year. Oh, there's 2 that are having a very, very mild little tussle, but worth hanging around for. Who knows what it may lead to. And I guess like most fights and arguments, they tend to build up with intensity, even though at the moment these 2 look half asleep. And you may notice there's a wildebeest in the background that I've just seen. So it's probably the same herd that we had tracks of further back, but they would have veered off the road because their tracks didn't continue down here. So you'll notice a dark shape in the bush behind, and that is not another buffalo. They do look quite similar, the 2 animals, and can occasionally be confused. So what I'm hoping is that the wildebeest are going to pop out into the open, and that way allow us for a great one-shot comparison between the 2. Now, whether these 2 bulls are tussling like this out of almost friendly companionship, certainly doesn't seem like there's any major intent here. And the fact that there's no females around in the immediate vicinity would also help me kind of assume that it's just some friendly interaction with one another. But, oh, that one's eye was in a very dangerous predicament there for a second. Sure. And like I say, maybe it will build up with intensity, but with the lack of females around, I'm not sure what would possess them to want to have a big fight with one another, because typically their main competition with one another would be only when there are ladies around and the opportunities to mate are present. There's a little blue Birchall starling, possibly thinking of refereeing this bout. But more likely it's that the starling is using these 2 buffalo to help its hunting, because as the buffalo move, they chase up little insects that the Birchall starlings can then run along and grab, and that's exactly what it's doing. And it literally is right in amongst them. Isn't this awesome? Another time that buffalo bulls may fight without females around, or an exception to not having ladies around, is possibly when it becomes dry and food is less available, so essentially the animals become hungry and irritable, and at that stage, later into the winter, we could expect them to fight quite seriously, but who knows? Who knows what it is that's causing these two to act like this morning. Very occasionally, when horned animals are fighting, their horns become interlocked and they cannot detach themselves from one another, and then naturally will end up dying because it's very difficult to move and feed when your heads are stuck together. I've seen that with male kudu before. I've come across lion feeding on two kudu that had interlocked horns and then died, and the lions came across an easy meal. And I've also seen the same thing with buffalo, so it's uncommon, but it does happen. And wouldn't that be a terrible way to go? Well, I don't think that's going to amount to a battle for us that's worth us hanging around for. So now that I think it's safe to assume these two old boys are not too serious with their morning fight, we shall continue. There's just one buffalo that's staring very intently up into the bush ahead of him, almost as if he's seen something, but it could just be his pose. They do tend to hold their head up and stare over their nostrils when they do see anything of potential danger, but I think I was wrong. I just wanted to make sure there wasn't a leopard coming down to the water to drink or something along those lines. Sent through a message saying that there's a lot of you sending through information and links on sandflies, so thank you so much for everyone that is. Okay, well, it sounds like sandflies or sand fleas, as they are also known, are terrible little creatures that cause a lot of discomfort to us as humans as well as animals. Apparently dogs and cats will carry them on their coats, but they do bite us humans, leaving nasty little red bumps, and if you get enough of those nasty little bites, they will end up leaving essentially a rash. And I believe they also can be very annoying when lying on the beach, and they can literally be crawling all over you as you're trying to enjoy the sand and the sunshine. So thank you for sharing that knowledge with us. It sounds like a lot of you in various parts of America and Canada are bothered by these and pestered by these flying in the sky. It was flying towards us. It's behind this big tree here, and clearly, oh no, is it too far? No, it's headed off in the wrong direction. It was a beautiful bird called the Battalier. A big bird of prey. The tricky thing is with them is that at this stage of the morning, when the hot air thermals are rising off the earth, they can soar effortlessly at high speeds of comfortably up to 50 miles an hour, and obviously if they're not heading in the right direction or if they veer off, it makes our job showing you them a little bit tricky. So we have stumbled upon a herd of male impala, and we're going to start animals, because over the coming weeks they are going to another 4 rights over territory, and it's the rights over territory that lead to the rights to mating. If they can secure a popular territory that the ladies like, naturally the ladies will flock into that area and they will have free reign over them. And like I said, they will fight very aggressively using their horns, and occasionally they can even kill one another. I've come across 2 different impala that had been killed during rutting over my years in the bush, and that's just the 2 that I've seen, so it certainly does happen. And I did hear them doing it for the first time about 5 or 6 days ago. So they are beginning to do it, but that was the first and last time I've heard it. So it is building up to the right period for them to be in full rutting swing, but we're not quite there yet. The problem comes in is that when they are so caught up in fighting with themselves, it allows for very, very hunting opportunities for lion and leopard, because they become so absorbed in their fight that they may not notice a leopard literally running in an open. We can expect to see 1 or 2 male impalas dangling out of a marula tree in the coming few weeks, because leopard can be really interesting to see, and I'm hoping we're going to be lucky enough to see it, is that you could be sitting with a leopard that's fast asleep and not very interested in doing anything, and if impalas start rutting nearby and start fighting, she'll hear this funny gurgling roar that they let out, and then literally the leopards will get up and head straight in that direction at a high speed, knowing that these impala could either run into the leopard or lion while they chase one another, and or when they're absorbed in the fight, horns locked, it allows the leopards to sneak up. the sun is beginning to shine beautifully, and what a good opportunity this would be then to find some animals to show you with the perfect sunlight. I'm just going to have to change over radio frequencies because we are moving on to another property. They use a different radio frequency there, and the reason why is different radio frequency areas, networks for different areas that you work in, so that there's less radio traffic, and the radio traffic you do here is applicable to the smaller kind of area that you may find yourself in. Prince walking down this road. Just going to try and find some clear ones to, I think these are the best ones up ahead here, the ones on the right here. I'm just going to even jump out to give you an idea of how big these footprints are compared to mine. Have you got an idea there, Bjorn?
Next one.
So that's a very big track, and that's a big foot. Gave you an idea. It is difficult though with the camera being mounted on one position, because it would be so nice to have a camera that we could swoop over the tracks and talk you through what's going on, and that is something that could potentially be incorporated into the question through from Anne on Twitter asking what it is that triggers the ratting season, and it's said that the first full moon of May will be the trigger for male that you could expect the rutting to happen on, but it very often, you know, varies a few days either side of that full moon. It's not like a light always supposed to. So in and around the next full moon we could expect the rutting season to be fully underway, but it wouldn't surprise me that even guys, it's Scott here. I'd like to head towards the airstrip off Safari Driveway and see what's happening there, and possibly respond to a sighting if anything exciting is happening. It was actually a crested barbet calling, and it's unacceptable, but I do get them confused, and I'm not sure what it is. Yeah, if you don't mind, it's just on that dead tree there. You can see it's silhouetted a bit in the middle. So, apologies for that misidentification, but the bird has just flown off there. Well done, Vim, and it was a crested barbet. We usually travel or traverse, but there are already 3 vehicles there and 5 vehicles queuing those areas because we don't want to be queuing up to see a leopard. We've already seen a leopard this morning, and of course if it was nearby and it was meant to be, space to go and we would go, but sometimes it just doesn't make sense to join these queues and rather go out and do your own thing. And those are not the difficult questions, but they are the scenarios that field guides do find themselves in, not just us with you, but also the guys who are here with guests, whether to respond or not to respond, or go to one area or not to another. Are the decisions that you're faced with. And naturally, the guides feel great pressure to show their guests a good time when they are out here, but where's the balance between racing around, seeing as many different animals as you can, as opposed to going out and just enjoying the experience? So it's a tricky balance, and a good guide will have that balance of being able to keep his guests happy without having to race around. Then of course we may go, but for now it is not leopard we are interested in. It is now a small bird that we are looking for. Morning, Roy. Thanks, man. Morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, well, we are on the airstrip, and now it's time to start searching for a little brown bird. Can find them. They're not a numerous bird, and I was not surprised to see one here, but happily excited to see that there were some here when I did see them a few days ago. Just going to stop and get out my binoculars and have a good look around and see if we cannot get another bird for the ornithologist. that the bird I was hoping was the bird we were looking for was actually a different one. Okay, well, I think I'm just going to have to swallow my pride. Apologies for that. I did think I'd seen the correct bird, but what I think I may have found is something else that's interesting. And that is a crowned lapwing nest. I can see the adult sitting down in an all light. Can you believe it? We found one of these nests just the other day, but there was 3 eggs in it, so she's only got 2, and you can see her now alarm calling at us, understandably. It's not just us. It's not just us that could alarm that crowned lapwing whose nest we just found. Wildebeest, zebra, any animal walking towards her nest would nothing too serious for her to deal with. And interestingly, because they nest on the ground and the eggs are very vulnerable and chicks are very vulnerable, if they see a predator getting predator that sees a bird with a broken wing hobbling around will be interested in it. And the predator will then move off the pathway of no. Try. I think it could be the right bird we're looking for, but they are okay. VM, have you got it at like 11 o'clock? I'm not convinced that that is the one we are looking for, though. And where is it hiding now? Well, it is a lark of sorts. That's the only clue I'll give you. This one, I don't think is the lark that we are looking for. It's doesn't have the right colorations. I'm not not sure. It could be the one we're looking at, but again, I would need my book to double check. They're all very similar looking, except for the one that I'm hoping to show you that is rare. We've just got a question through from Sandy. Good morning, Sandy. And Sandy's interested to know whether we've seen any of the warthog. No, we certainly haven't. If we had, we would have raced over to them and had the cameras on them. So sadly, no sign of the warthog. For Scots. To the other end of the airstrip in the hope of finding both the bird I was hoping to show you, as well as typically thicker thorn felt that we have in this area. So this open clearing can often attract a lot of animals. Why we don't get large herds of wildebeest and zebra like you do in areas with large open plains. Good morning, Ryan. I'm copying you better than anyone else. If you could just please give me the exact location of that Tingana sighting. And what the guys are saying. You joking. Awesome. Copy. Copy. Thank you. Battling to copy you out here, so questions are going to be difficult. Folks, just to let you know, the radio reception that I'm getting from the final control room is very sketchy in this area, so that is why Nikki has been battling to get any questions through to me, so apologies for that. Now this is a beautiful tree that I'll allow VM to take you on a little journey through. And it'll be interesting to know whether luck in identifying this tree. The biggest clue and it's got a very unique style or looks. So that for me would be the key indicator. But beautiful, beautiful tree this, and this specific one for the species. Thank you, Vim. I'm just getting my GPS out again to get a better idea of exactly where I am. Sadly, for various different reasons, haven't spent too much time across on Arathusa. It's a wonderful property, but signal for us is difficult here, and also it can sometimes be a little bit busy with game drive vehicles, which doesn't suit us. We prefer to be able to
I'm never gonna go there.
Okay.
I'll try this after.
Okay, cool. Well, I'll get an update and then whatever. But thank you. Thanks very much. Have a good morning. safer there for them, or is it the food that they can find there? And it's a good question, Dennis. I think it's a combination of safety and food, but it does depend on the individual animal. You could imagine if you were a warthog, a very short animal moving through thick vegetation like this, it would be terrifying. Actually, of feeding, because they like to, especially at this time of the year, feed on the roots of plants. And so, combination of safety and food. There's also certain animals that like eating short grass. I like wildebeest, for example, and they would therefore also be more inclined to come to these open areas around the airstrips. A beautiful day it is, and great to have the sun out and be warming up again. It's never very cold here, but for what we are used to, it is cold. So there's a lot of you, I'm sure, in far colder places than us right now, so we shouldn't be complaining, but I guess it's all relative to what you're used to. And we've just come out of a very hot and humid summer here in the Lowveld. Morning everyone. Morning Ryan. How are you doing?
What happened to you the other day, bro?
I didn't get the message.
No, it's not. I've got the vinegar.
Oh.
Way God, test matches.
Where do I need to go from here? Back.
Just down. Not with your big legs, the legs don't left.
Okay. Cool.
You'll see the slope from there.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Have a good morning. See you later. Oh, well, it appears we are actually closer than I expected, so that's a bargain, or a bonus rather. So what I need to do though is eventually turn us around, because he was going backwards, so we were ever so slightly heading in completely the opposite direction of where we needed to be. But it's worth hanging around for. There's an interesting sighting. The visual of this leopard has been up and down, so that's a warning, but it is going to be worth hanging around for if you can, because he may have something very interesting there with him, and that is all I'm going to say about that. Just checking the radio next. waiting in the right spot where we were watching those hornbills feeding. Where we can watch some birds going about their business. And it appears like the first candidate may be the Burchell starling, which we can see in the road. And this is the same bird that we were watching almost referee the buffaloes fight that we saw earlier. It wasn't really a full-blown fight, but there were two buffaloes having a bit of a tussle with one another, and the Burchell starling was cleverly lurking around the buffaloes. It knew that all their movement would be flushing small insects that it can then run up to and gobble up, which is what this one's doing now, just without the help of two buffaloes to flush the prey. Affirmative, Nix. It won't necessarily be long, and we might not even need to, but if so, thank you. That's a good idea. Copy, perfect, yeah. I noticed on the way back. Thank you very much. I'm just standing by nearby. No rush, just if you can let me know. Now, let me show you here. There's something fairly interesting. If you can just get on the spider web there, please. Perfect. Now there's a very strong chance you can hear a hyena. And I'm not sure what's going on, but it's around this Tingana sighting that we're very close to. Nikki, please update me if you're picking up this audio. Sorry, go again. Okay, well, I can't copy Nikki, but I hope you did manage to hear that audio, and I wish we were there watching what was going on, but it is what it is, and we're not there, and we can't get there, even though it's so close. Anyway, interesting times lie ahead. So what we can assume now, or what you may have been able to piece together in this puzzle, and is that Tingana is there, he's a male leopard. Now there's a hyena there making a racket, and there's a strong chance that the leopard and the hyena are fighting over something. Now what would they fight over? They would be fighting over meat. And here comes another hyena that's coming into the scene that Viam's just seen. Well spotted, Viam. And isn't this awesome? There's another hyena on the way to you guys. And well done there, Viam. So this hyena has obviously heard the chaos and decided it wants to get a piece of the action, and that's normal because it would have realized that there's something worth fighting about there. Now, interestingly enough, it's an aardvark, which is a nocturnal animal that we very rarely see. And this specific male leopard has become a professional at killing these aardvark. They are not very numerous in the Sabi Sands. And I think this is the 5th one that he's been documented to catch. I have never seen an aardvark in the Sabi Sands. In all fairness, they do move very late at night, kind of. I want to be there. And I'll try and keep as quiet as I can when the audio does kick in, but I also do need to explain to everyone that we are next in queue. Copy, thanks Nikki. And Nikki says she is picking up the audio clearly, so you can all hear it, and I must apologize for us to not be there right now, but it is what it is. We are next in queue, and naturally anybody who is in that sighting, even if it was us, you would not want to leave. So we are just not in the right place at the right time, and that happens out here, and at least we're close enough to hear it, because there's a lot of people that are on safari here in the Sabi Sands that don't even have a clue what's going on here. Oh, well spotted, Viam. Another vulture, and it may well have seen this action from above and now come to investigate closer, because it's floating just above where the leopard and hyena currently are. So it could have seen the hyena running from a distance in this direction. I'm not sure it would have responded to the audio, but who knows, if it was close enough, it could well have heard this characteristic sounds that are associated with kills, and that is often the hyena. Copy, thanks so much, Doug. If you can, would you mind just updating me a little bit on what went on there, just so I can tell the viewers, because they certainly could hear it, but we obviously have no idea what happened. Okay, copy. Thank you very much, Doug. Okay, well, this is awesome. Doug has kindly and very kindly said he's willing to make space. There is still a bit of interaction there, but we must be very, very grateful, because for somebody to leave a sighting like this is obviously very difficult, and Doug has so kindly made space for us, and there is still a bit of action. Basically, what Doug tells me is that he was the Tingana and one hyena were wrestling over the aardvark kill, and that was the commotion we heard. Tingana was managing to do a fairly decent job at competing with the hyena, but when the second hyena that VM spotted came in, then the power balance shifted and the leopard has now lost the kill. The two hyena are feeding on it, but the leopard is still watching it and may go in and try and sneak in again. And here comes the third hyena, just in front of us. And not wasting any time, wanting to get to that kill as quickly as possible. Doug, thank you so much for making space, buddy.
No worries.
Are you on? Morning, folks. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, well, just a few seconds now, folks, and then we're in for a treat. An absolute treat. The third hyena is just arriving on the scene. I'm not sure where the best place to position the vehicle is, but we'll work it out shortly. Well, now you can see that there's one hyena that's obviously dominant over the other two, and it did chase one out as we arrived here now. So this one is dominant and doesn't appear to be allowing the others to feed. The leopard is lying up nearby to us. I cannot see it now, but Ryan did show me where it is, and it is to the right of our vehicle, to the right of where we started. Where we parked, apologies, there he goes there, VM. If we can just get a quick shot of him as he moves off. A beautiful big male leopard. So now he's busy slinking off, and I wonder why I didn't have the kill hoisted up a tree. It is easier for them to feed on kills when they are on the ground. So you've had a brief glimpse of the leopard, and now I think the hyena are going to be providing us with the best action. Now, we can't tell that it's an aardvark from here, but it is. And I'm just going to get my binoculars out and try and have a closer look. Now, hyena's jaws are some of the strongest out here, strongest of the predators out here, and it's for this purpose. It's for... Here comes another hyena. We're in for a bit more action. No, VM, stay on the action, stay on the kill. Now, it'd be interesting to know how far and wide they are coming from, and whether they're from different clans. This one immediately has not even attempted, the one that arrived, has not even attempted to overthrow the one that's feeding. So clearly there's some dominance here, but we'll keep a close eye on things. So just to keep everyone updated, it's now 4 hyena and 1 male leopard lying up nearby. Sadly for the male leopard, he has lost his kill, and I don't think he's going to see any more of it. With 1 hyena, there's a small chance a large male leopard will be able to compete on the ground for a kill like this. And as soon as any more hyena come, it will become close to impossible for him to safely try and keep the kill. And that's why he's abandoned it. And he's lying up probably 25 meters away from all this action. And he knows there he's safe because it's the meat that they're after mainly. And these hyena now have got only themselves to worry about. As he lifts up that piece of meat that you can see the claws, and those are very characteristic claws of the aardvark. So that's about the only feature that we can show you of this rare nocturnal animal that is distinguishable on the carcass at this stage. Is there another hyena arriving? Potentially. I just saw one look back in the direction they've all been coming from, but nothing further. Well, just to let everyone know, we may spend a few minutes more than the regular drive due to all the action here. This is really great, and we very seldom, or I've yet to see or hear hyena interaction like this in the 5 months we've been filming. So let's stick around and see what happens with these hyena. Here comes the leopard. Let's see what the leopard's going to do, Vim. He may well try and chase one of the hyena, or oh. Well, we could well find him up a tree shortly. Well, the other 3 hyena are now on their way back. That chased him off. And interesting how it works. Those 3 hyena are essentially doing the other hyena that's left here feeding a huge favor. And it's incredible how numbers change things. As soon as you've got safety in numbers and strength in numbers, the behavior of animals can differ greatly. And this is clearly evident now. One-on-one, they wouldn't dare take on that male leopard as boldly as they did now. I am tempted to try and go and have a quick look for him. Not an easy decision because there's obviously great action here, but it appears that only one hyena is feeding and they're not going to compete too much between one another. So let's see if we can go and try and find a visual of this leopard, which is not going to be easy to find now, but certainly worth looking around for. And he was, after all, the reason why we've come here, yet we haven't spent much time at all looking at him. And I can, interestingly enough, actually see a lot of excavations in this area that would have been dug by the aardvark, and which is making prey, which is making, where was I going with this? So the aardvark would have been digging, and they dig for termites. Aardvark, the prey animal that the hyena were feeding on there, that they'd stolen from the leopard, are highly specialized in feeding on termites. And that's why they've got those big claws to be able to dig into termite mounds. Yeah. So the leopard kind of ran up in this general direction. It's hard to say how far. Okay, well done. He came straight to the base of this tree, which I guess he could have climbed up if need be. And that is why we came here, to have a look around. And he's still looking intently back in the direction of the kill. What a beautiful big male this is. You can't feel too sorry for it though. It was this leopard's bad judgment of not having the kill up the tree. It certainly would not have been too big or too heavy for the leopard to get into a tree. and it was right below Marula where it could have quite comfortably, or easily rather, have had that kill. But the risk he took of having it on the ground was that if any other animal like a hyena or even lion comes onto the scene, there's going to be a strong likelihood that he loses it. And you can see he's very cautiously backing into the shade of this round leaf teak. I'm glad we got this view of him here. Now, let's go back and have a quick look at what the hyena are doing. Like I say, I'm not convinced that there's going to be too much more interaction from them, but I'm glad we got a good look at this big male leopard. But I fear this is going to be the position he acquires for some time now before the hyena eventually finish the kill. And then what I'm guessing he will do is then go back into that area and look for any scraps or titbits to feed on. Well done there, Vivian. Thank you. I'm just going to wait. There's another vehicle that's come in. One vehicle's made space, another one's coming in. And protocol in a sighting like this is that we will only move one vehicle at a time, and that's to prevent there being too much audio. That is if the animals are stationary. All that is done. And the hyena have got lucky this morning, and that does happen. And it won't be the first time this leopard would have lost a kill to the hyena. Well, as I said, it's time to make space for us. There is another vehicle now that wants to come into the sighting and take our spot. And we have had a great time, but it's important to share what little remains of this kill. So we're going to make space, and we'll catch up with you this afternoon. I'm not sure whether myself or Brent is going out. We're hoping to have the second vehicle fixed up by tomorrow, so it could well just be Brent and VM out this afternoon. Either way, there will be a safari, so tune in and we'll see you next time.